Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. Joined, of course, by Superintendent Sean Ferguson. I have Chief Pichardo, who's with me, as well as Mr. John Casbon and Captain Woodfork standing with me on this morning. Now, since Sean Ferguson, our chief, made the decision to retire, and that will culminate this Thursday, December 22nd. So we're here to do four things on this morning. One, to hear about the progress that the New Orleans Police Department has made fighting crime in our city, particularly since onboarding and engaging John Linder, Chief Pichardo, Fausto Pichardo, and in partnership with the New Orleans Police and Justice Foundation. I came before you early August and talked about a partnership that was formed to engage on the ground so that we can do a much better job as it relates to bringing forth and strengthening officer safety, crime fighting, retention, and recruitment in the city of New Orleans. Here to do also to announce my decision as it relates to who will lead the New Orleans Police Department moving forward starting Thursday, December 22nd in an interim capacity. Third, to hear also from members, I would say, of the business community. You'll hear from John Casbon, just recommitting the partnership, not only from him, but from the business community and that affiliated with the New Orleans Police and Justice Foundation. So with that, I will say, let me just start by introducing Chief Pichardo, who is the former 3-star Chief of Patrol of the New York Police Department, NYPD, who has been a consultant, as you know, provided by the Police and Justice Foundation, again, since August of this year. And as I mentioned, after asking Fausto Linder to come forward, they did a 10-day assessment on the ground with us and throughout the New Orleans Police Department. Again, that 10-day scan was about strengthening officer safety, crime fighting, retention, and recruiting efforts for our city and our department. In his role as our consultant, who has no direct authority in the department at all or in the city of New Orleans. However, Chief Pichardo has advised the superintendent and me directly, making a number of recommendations about improving internal and as it relates to internal operations of our police department, and externally focusing on, as I mentioned, recruitment efforts. Make no mistake about it, I've been in the weeds with and at the core of this engagement from day one, which of course started with me visiting roll call every single district throughout our city, 7 a.m., 7 p.m., listening directly from the men and women of the police department, and definitely our platoon, those who we all depend on, working the streets day in and day out here in the city of New Orleans. This on the ground, I would say me being in the weeds and in the bowels of our department, has also forced me to engage at an even higher level, meaning at the federal level, to push for strengthening the relationships and the partnerships with all of our federal agencies. Not that there was a problem before, because we've always had a unified command and a working relationship with federal partners. However, it became very clear to just push a little bit harder, push the envelope just a little bit further so that we can get added support on the ground, again, to strengthen officer safety, crime fighting efforts in the city of New Orleans. We have made, and we know that we have a solid foundation to stand on within our department, but we've leaned in even heavier. And we're going to share with you results based on what we've seen on the ground throughout our department and within the men and women of our New Orleans Police Department. Chief Pichardo will describe these results of these efforts, and also in terms of past, but also future efforts, because it is my priority, of course, crime fighting in the city of New Orleans, but to continue to ensure that progress continues to happen on the ground today. It's not, we don't have time to waste. And so every day counts. Every day will continue to count as it relates to moving our department forward, strengthening our operations, our crime fighting efforts, and of course pivoting very heavily on retention and recruitment. But without further ado, you're going to hear from Chief Pichardo. I'll come back and then we'll move through this press conference accordingly. So right now, Chief, come on up, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your leadership, and the New Orleans Police and Justice Foundation for bringing me on board in this engagement. The momentum has shifted in this city. Clearly, progress is being made. If you look at the last quarter of this year, murders, shootings, carjackings, crime as a whole, reductions. If you look at the months of October, November, the lowest murder numbers in all of 2022. And as I stand before you here today, in the month of December, already 50% reductions in homicides. And that doesn't happen by chance or by luck. It is by sheer determination, diligence, and the tremendous hard work of the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. But we can't let up. Today and every day, we have to ensure that we keep progress, we keep moving in the right direction. And I'm confident that with the leadership that you see before me and behind me today, that momentum is going to continue into 2023. From redeployment strategies to technology to the very essence of what is the most precious resource in every police department, their personnel. From the payroll clerk to the police officer on the street, New Orleans is in a good place because of the people that they have. Their lives matter. The lives of the people of this city matter. So let's get together. Let's get strong. Let's get moving to 2023. In my short time here, I've come across tremendous leaders of this organization. Captain behind me, Captain Woodfork, is inevitably one of those individuals. Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Chief. I like it. I like it. And I like where we're going. I like where we're going. Now, let me just proceed as it relates to the next leader of our New Orleans Police Department. First of all, I'm going to just lay out a couple of factors that I've considered, and I have considered every aspect of the decisions that are before me to ensure that the number one priority, which is protecting the residents and the visitors of this city, remain the top priority. As we have demonstrated results and progress, but again, continuity in leadership so that, one, we can continue to make progress on the ground. That is undeniable. First and foremost, again, I have to say, protecting this community remains that top priority. That is why, one, after COVID, after the emergency passed, because we know we're still living with it, but as the emergency passed, and I realized truly how serious the problems facing our police and public safety team across the board in our city became, because they were boots on the ground consistently, beating back not only COVID-19, but every single disaster or blow that came before the city of New Orleans. And I have signed as mayor in 4 years over 15 emergency declarations. And it was the men and women of this department and all that make up our public safety team that responded and got results on the ground. As I mentioned earlier, I went to every police district, roll calls, listening to the men and women directly. You know, hearing them saying that they want a real focus on local recruitment efforts. Strengthening retention was also a priority. Listening to them about how we could reinvest in our infrastructure, equipment, and giving them tools and resources to do their jobs and be the most effective at it. Also, looking at the timing. I weighed in very heavily as it relates to, the time that I'm in the last quarter of this year, leaning into the first quarter of even 2023, with the most recent change, as we know, by the voters relative to the charter. Lean into that. Had to weigh that. But wanting to make the best decision at the time, again, to ensure that progress continues, as well as listening to our community, listening to stakeholders, engaging the New Orleans City Council members. And I have to thank the council members for responding, and also one in particularly for taking me up on a person-to-person meeting so that we can look one another in the eye. And that's Councilman King. Thank you for that. It really does matter. So all my decisions, and I truly can go on and on and on. My team can tell you, I don't take things lightly. I don't make decisions in a vacuum. I comb over, I think through, and at the end of the day, stand up and stand by and stand firm in what's going to make this city safer and provide the leadership necessary to continue these efforts within our New Orleans Police Department. So all my decisions since then have been about city resources. The budget I produced to the city council that was passed by the city council, thank you for that. About police operations, recruiting and retention efforts. And really taking in very heavily, I would say, relative to just what I was hearing on the ground from, again, our police officers. This is why I proposed, and the city council approved, $32 million to provide $30,000 for each New Orleans police officer that is separated from our department and wishes to return. They've resigned. We want you back. We're putting our best foot forward to say, come on home to the New Orleans Police Department. For each existing police officer elsewhere in our region or state to come join us. For each recruit who signs on to become a police officer in New Orleans for the first time, come on, join us. While at the same time, putting a real focus on our existing officers who matter the most. Up to 20,000 more based on that retention package that was passed already, but 20,000 more so that not one of them is paid less than any other officer returning to our force and or joining our force. Equity and looking through that lens has been a priority. Fairness is something that my administration and our department embraces 100%. And it's woven through these decisions that have been put forth as well as passed by our city council. This is also why I proposed to the council, and the council approved $25 million to provide all of our officers with take-home vehicles, even if they live outside of the parish, extending that to St. Tammany Parish, as far away as that. Again, listening to our officers. And these things are real. Cars are coming in. We understand that backlogs are real as well, but orders are made and cars are on their way. It's very important because I want to ensure that our officers, that again, we do what we say and we mean what we say. Second, I believe that our officers have sometimes, not only sometimes, in many instances, have served as a model for constitutional policing practices. They are the model in this country. But more importantly, they've served in terms of at that national level on the front lines when we saw social unrest happening throughout the country, in your city, in our city. We know that we heard from our residents, but it was peaceful, it was respectful. Third, I believe that we all, whether elected or not, private citizens, business leaders, everyone in this community, we have a responsibility, a shared responsibility to ensure the safety of our community. But that's also through the safety of our officers, supporting our officers, supporting our department, not only to respect our officers, but also giving them the tools that they need to do the job. But I'm going to underscore respect, because this is something that I heard also loud and clear, even when I moved through this most recent process, engaging over a dozen of New Orleans Police Department leadership right now, and hearing them say to me just firsthand how words matter, how they have been impacted personally, not just them, but their families as well. Because I say, when one member serves, the entire family serves right along with them. But when they hear negative comments, vicious comments, cruel comments, disrespectful in public settings, whether led by public officials or even words uttered by public officials, it matters. And it set the tone for how we respect the men and women who we depend on to protect and serve this community. So as I'm sharing with you this morning, and I'm getting to it, but I'm also getting to the fact that fighting has to end and building has to begin at every single level, and the building needs to be rooted and grounded in mutual respect, especially if we're talking about public safety, especially if we're talking about violent crime in our community. Because much of the incidents of violent crime that occurs in our city, it actually starts with a form of disrespect. Somebody feeling like they've been disrespected. And many go to the ultimate to pay back those who have disrespected. We don't want to set that tone nor tenor in our community and in our city. We know that we're better than that. I know that. But you know what? It's time for us to show that in every way. But when the men and women tell me firsthand how it's impacted them, that's when we cannot take it lightly. Because I've heard throughout this a national search. But let me tell you where that focus is going to be. It's going to be on a search. And it's going to be understanding that national searches that have been led by cities across this country in this current environment around law enforcement and public safety, you know where those cities have turned to. Your city, the city of New Orleans, because we know that our men and women in leadership are second to none. And I do believe that the change in this country in terms of constitutional policing practices will be, we know it's found right here in this city, but it's going to permeate throughout this country because of what this city is doing and what we have internally to lead this city and this department forward. All which brings me to the decision I am announcing today. Effective Thursday, December 22nd, Captain Michelle Woodfork will become interim superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department, and I am so excited about this appointment. And at the same time, I will engage in a search by bringing forth a search consultant to lead a search for the permanent superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department, not overlooking at all Captain Woodfork, who will serve as our interim superintendent. This consultant will understand that there are a number of individuals inside of our department today that is credible, that has what it takes. That's also Michelle Woodfork. They will understand, we know who our people are fully qualified, again, and capable of serving as superintendent. And again, after meeting with over a dozen of our officers in leadership, it just became even crystal clear for me that when we talk about fairness, again, this is what I've been hearing from my officers throughout, just listening, this fairness. So it just became a little clearer that through this search and embracing a search, it gives our officers in leadership a fair opportunity also to be considered. And I felt that I needed to engage at that level because just sitting down with me isn't good enough. I wanted it to be fair and truly engaging. But again, notwithstanding at all, that soon-to-be Superintendent Woodford, who definitely has what it takes, will also be considered. But we'll have a real time and a lead to show us what she's working with. So now I would like to introduce to you Captain Michelle Woodford, the first woman ever to lead the New Orleans Police Department. Ms. Woodford, a 32-year veteran of our department, she joined the department in 1991, January 27th to be exact, approaching, it's coming along, anniversary coming. She began her career as a patrol officer on the streets of our city in District 7, in that 7th district. Captain Woodford has been assigned to she's been assigned to five of our districts, including 8th districts, where she served at the rank of patrol officer, sergeant, and lieutenant. Captain Woodford served a total of 12 years as a detective and later a sergeant in the department's sex crimes, child abuse unit, investigating and supervising physical and sexual abuse criminal investigations, as well as deaths involving children. In 2012, Woodford was selected by former Superintendent Ronald Serpis to launch the Alternative Police Response Unit. We call it APR unit. At this unit, she was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. In 2016, initially assigned to the 7th district, then 2nd district in Uptown, under the supervision of then Commander Sean Ferguson. I had the opportunity to work with you all as a community leader. I appreciate that. Never will forget it. I'm rooted in community. She was assigned as a lieutenant in the 1st district before being promoted to the rank of captain in November of 2021 under the Cantrell administration, which I approved 100%. Woodford currently serves as captain of the Management Services Bureau. She grew up understanding the importance of law and order, my kind of woman. She is raising a teenage son who is a son of the city of New Orleans. She is a faithful parishioner of St. Peter Claver Catholic Church and a proud graduate of St. Mary's Academy. We know it goes beyond that, but in this city, that's where it stops. She is a legacy within the New Orleans Police Department that's made it up the ranks without favor. And what I mean by that, without favor of man, favor of God was right there. It was her grit, her tenacity, hard work, determination, endurance, strong and steadfast focus, focusing on the mission at hand, and has been a part of implementing the recent recommendations and the improvement measures that you heard Chief Pichardo talk about. So without further ado, I want you to know that I'm tapping this type of leadership to lead the department of the City of New Orleans Police Department at a time such as this. Leadership matters, and I look forward to the leadership that will be brought forth by Captain Michelle Woodford, soon to be interim superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department. All right now, Captain Woodford.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for everybody being here. First, I want to thank God for always ordering all my steps. I want to thank Mayor Cantrell for acknowledging and trusting my leadership skills, vast knowledge of law enforcement, and over 3 decades of experience with the New Orleans Police Department, and selecting me to serve as interim superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department. I want to thank my family, my parents, for your unwavering love and support throughout my life and career. I could not have done this without them. To my son, thank you. You inspire me to do better and be better every day. Thank you to the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department who serve with honor and integrity day in and day out. Your commitment to public service is second to none. And thank you to everyone who called with encouraging words and good spirits and support. And to Superintendent Sean Ferguson, thank you for all your hard work and everything you have done to lay a solid foundation that we can build on. You did a phenomenal job. Your leadership is unmatched, and I hope I make you proud. I am a native New Orleanian. I grew up in New Orleans East, and I still currently reside there with my son. Like the mayor said, I'm a graduate of St. Mary's Academy, and I'm also a graduate of Southern University at New Orleans, where I've received my bachelor and master's degree in criminal justice. As a child, I was fortunate enough to experience excellence in policing and law enforcement as I watched both my father and my uncle protect and serve as members of the New Orleans Police Department. My father joined the NOPD as a cadet in 1968 and resigned in 1974 to continue his career in law enforcement as a special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, where he retired as a supervisory special agent after 33 years of service. My uncle, Warren G. Woodfork Sr., served with NOPD for 28 years. During his career, he ascended through the ranks and in 1985 was appointed superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department by former Mayor Ernest Dutch Morial. I am their legacy. As I watched them, the seed to serve and protect was planted. I joined the New Orleans Police Department on January 27, 1991. Throughout my career, I've served in several districts as a patrol officer, a field training officer, administrative sergeant, a lieutenant. I love this job. It is me. I am honored and humbled to serve as interim superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department, and I understand that with this appointment comes great responsibility and accountability. I will serve with honesty and integrity. I am laser focused on leaving the New Orleans Police Department in the best possible state that it could be in when it is my time to retire. I hope that I can work with community members, political members of the community, and the men and women on the police department to make this the best city we can possibly make it. My number one priority is to protect and serve the citizens and the visitors of the great city of New Orleans. It is the jewel of the South, and we must continue to protect her and its citizens as we go our way. And we cannot forget the men and women of the police department. They need your support. We need your support. It is important that their safety and their wellness is supported by us and also by the community. I will continue the conversations with the men and women of the department because their safety and wellness is paramount and they matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. And now we're going to hear from Mr. John Casbon, a partner, the City of New Orleans, and that of the New Orleans Police Department.
This is a great day. This is a very happy day. I never knew that rumors could travel faster than Texas, but apparently they do. And I'd like for those rumors to come to a screeching halt. You just heard from a transition from Chief Ferguson over to Chief Woodford. This is a good day. And from the business community, this is what we asked for, our leader. We have a leader. And by the way, we have a lot of police officers and NOPD that are leaders too. A lot. This is not some junkyard. These people are out there doing, what other business is there that you put your life on the line by going out and serving and never knowing whether you're going to come back? It's a dangerous city, and this mayor is making it safer. Remember one thing, police officers, if they're not safe, we're not safe. And what she's done by putting this team together, by going at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. to these changes and the shifts, is incredible. I don't know of another mayor in the country that has done this and who has listened to make sure that the police officers have all the tools in their toolbox to win. As a CEO of a company, that's what we do. We make sure that when we hire somebody and we onboard them, they have the tools to win with. We're going to do that, and we're going to do it big time. Chief, we're not standing behind you. We're standing with you.
Thank you.
We mean that.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited this chapter is over. The transition is done. And I'm asking everybody, no more bickering, no more rumors. I want us all to come together. It's Christmas, for God's sake. Let's take advantage of that. And let's make sure that we honor and we respect each other. We got a lot of work to do out here. This is a very, very dangerous city. And here's a dream or a hope that I have. One day, we're going to be at dinner at my family and your family and restaurants. And you know what? We're not going to mention crime because it's not going to be an issue. Quality of life is going to set itself into this department in a big way. You'll see people with strollers and people riding their bikes. This is what we want. This is what we deserve. And New Orleans is one of the most fantastic cities on this planet. I have people that actually say, well, I'm going to move. Well, where in the hell do you think you're going to go? You go to any coffee shop or any restaurant and you'll recognize half the people in there. Try that someplace. This is unique. This is special, and it is incredibly worth fighting for. And my colleagues, all through the business community, the citizens, let's get going and get behind this badge and this department and help them be as successful as we can be. I love this town. Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much for your partnership and for your words. We know that the City of New Orleans matters. We know that the City of New Orleans is back. We know that not only back in our communities, but in regards to this being a destination. This city has been identified as one of the top 10 fastest growing cities in the United States of America, and that did not happen by chance. All because of the hard work of the people who serve this city, and of course for residents demonstrating their civic trust. Remember, the glass is not half empty, the glass is half full, and it's going to be up to us to build on the foundation that has been laid. We have everything that we need and that it takes to do that, because we continue to demonstrate that to the world over and over and over again. But understand how we talk about one another, how we talk about our officers, how we talk about leadership within our department. It also sends a message. So if we're wanting to attract, let's attract the best that is within us. Respect matters. And I'm asking all members of our community, elected and non, to really begin to work together to build. And public safety, understand, as we say over and over and over again, sometimes it feels like it gets lost. that keeping this community safe, this city safe, is not just by way of the New Orleans Police Department. It starts with NOPD in the community, making solid arrests, getting people off the street, and wanting to sit them down. But in order for us to ensure continuity and safety, all partners within our criminal justice system has to work together. So I think we don't need any more meetings. We know what needs to be done. Thorough communication and an agreement to share data and to lean in and to do what it takes. Every single partner within the criminal justice system. But I'm here to say, as the mayor of the city of New Orleans, I'm going to make sure that the public safety team under my leadership will be ready and will be prepared and will continue to do the job. And I'm asking that all others lean in, let's work together and do the same. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over. Councilman, thank you for being here. I'm just now turning around, looking you in your eye. I'm sorry about that, Councilman.
Can I introduce somebody? I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Bowe. Elizabeth Bowe is the chairman of the Police Foundation.
Yeah, let me do that.
Please do that.
Let me do that.
Please do that.
Yes.
She's a hard worker.
She is. Well, it is really a privilege and a breath of fresh air to work with Miss Elizabeth Bowe, who is the chair of the New Orleans Police and Justice Foundation. One that made a strong commitment to me at our first meeting. We had it in the crime lab, because I said when I meet, I like to make it relevant. I wanted to get you all into that crime lab to see, again, real examples of how we're moving our city forward and providing the tools that our officers need. But Miss Elizabeth, thank you so much, and John, you can add on.
Well, we had coffee one morning, and I said, "Are you ready for this? Because this is 24/7, 7 days a week." She didn't hesitate, and this has been 24/7. What the Police Foundation does behind the scenes is super important, and we back the men and the women of the blue all the way, and we're excited about this. And Elizabeth, thank you for your dedication, because it's been amazing.
Thank you very much. Keeping that Bow legacy going.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's start with WG.
Mayor, when it was initially announced that Chief Pichardo was coming, his stay was 6 months, and now that time's almost up. Is there any plan to extend how long Chief is going to be here through this transition?
Oh, absolutely. That's why he's here. It's not stopping here. We're talking about progress made, but also moving forward. So one of the real opportunities that we have since onboarding Chief Pichardo and being here since August, embedding and working with the men and women of the department, building trust, demonstrating real results on the ground through working together, and real strong collaborations that have taken place. So I want to make sure that we have that continuity as we're faced with the transition of leadership. I'm wanting to make sure that Chief Woodford has all the support that she needs around her, and so that we really continue to keep on this path of making changes, that we see these results, happening on the ground. So I'm not looking to stop anything. We cannot afford to. We cannot afford to. We have to keep good things going. And we have a plan in place, and we're working the plan. And so I'm passing that baton, or Chief Ferguson is passing that baton to Chief Woodford, and we're going to continue to get things done. So yes, to your question, I've asked for a year, 9 months to a year. And I have a commitment of doing what it takes to help our department. Thank you.
WWF.
Just for a point of clarification in your search for a replacement, permanent replacement, I know you're going to be looking within the department for sure. Is a national search still on the table here, or is that something?
It's a search. It's a search. It's a search.
Outside of the city.
It's a search. Anyone who's interested can apply. I'm not embracing the terminology that has been used over and over and over again, that national, because you know what? It cut across the bowel of our department. Our men and women from that messaging said, wow, overlooking us, overlooking the men and women who are doing the job right now, overlooking us where other cities and mayors are looking to us for leadership. So I'm not embracing national. What it is, it's a search with a real focus on leadership that we have within. I believe it 100%. That starts with Michelle Woodford, but also other men and women within our department that deserve fair consideration. And so when we talk about fairness and when I'm listening to them talk about fairness, this is just a way, in my opinion, that I can demonstrate that firsthand and really give a fair opportunity. That's my hope and that's the goal.
Deputy Diaz.
Mayor Cantrell, how long will the search take place for? And once a official final superintendent is named, will that individual need council approval?
Well, you know that, right? You know the answer to that, that the voters approved a charter amendment or change that provides a confirming period, and that confirmation is given by the New Orleans City Council. The mayor appoints and gets it confirmed by the council. So that is the process that we will follow. I will engage, as I mentioned, a search consultant. And then at that time, and as I move, I guess, closer to doing so, we've done some outreach, but as it's more defined, I will share with you at that time. But not looking at a long and drawn out process at all, because I believe that we have what it takes. But there will be a search, there will be a process, and I will unveil the specifics at a later date. Not long from now, but just not right now.
That will be after the first, or?
Oh yes, it's December 22nd is when I'm swearing in the next chief. So clearly, I'm not going to not move forward with a search process, nor the process of the council confirming an appointment that I put forth.
Matt Slade.
Chief, Mayor, excuse me, a recent survey conducted through the FOP found that 86% of the officers who responded were dissatisfied with the NOPD. Do you think that Captain, future Chief Woodford can turn around this morale problem?
Well, first of all, I'm not owning what came out of the survey. I'm owning what I heard firsthand from the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. And as it relates to morale, it really does speak to, one, the retention package we put forward, the recruitment package we put forward, as well as tools and resources that they need to do a thorough job. So those aspects are really woven around and throughout the morale of our department. So that's where I am and will stay focused on.
Yes. How many women are currently working in the police department?
Oh, the number of women offhand. I don't have that number offhand, Chief.
24% of the department is women.
24%.
24%.
But the actual number,
But the number I do not know.
We'll get it to you.
24%.
Thank you.
Fox 8.
The search consultant, do you believe that'll be someone local, or any idea who that might be?
I'll share that information when that has been confirmed. I'm looking for a consultant that specializes in searches for law enforcement. So it'll be a narrow, I guess, field, if you will, but I'm going to do my due diligence, both locally as well as nationally, but the best search firm possible, consultant possible. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Captain Woodford. Actually, your uncle was a pathbreaker at NOPD, the first black chief. What does it mean to you to be the first female chief?
Well, more for me than anything, it is historical. It's important. It's a great thing, But what's more important is public safety. What's more important is us to getting rid of violent crime. Giving the citizens some kind of stability, and being able to travel around the city and have no fears about being a victim of violent crime. That's what's more important. And I'm not discounting that in any way. I'm proud of what my family's done, and I'm proud of my uncle. And I think this is a historic thing. But the most important thing is the people of the city of New Orleans.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And more to come. Merry